Dealmakers in China are finding themselves in the crosshairs of authorities. Now, we know at least 3 investment bankers have been detained since August, while some state-backed brokerages are said to have asked staff to hand in passports and seek permission for travel. Let's get to our chief North Asia correspondent, Stephen Engle, joining us now. What more do we know on this story, Steve?
Well, I know this is going to be one of the most read stories on the Bloomberg terminal in Asia Pacific today, because this is dear to many of our clients, and obviously what's happening in mainland China has sent a bit of a pall and chill across the investment banking community. Not, to mention, of course, what's happened to the brokerages over the last few years. There's been multiple stresses, essentially since Xi Jinping really launched common prosperity over the last 3 years. We'll get to some of those pressures, but this is the latest. We're hearing from sources that investment bankers, essentially in the crosshairs right now, at least 3 top investment bankers from different securities firms have been detained by authorities since last month, so since August. One of them used to oversee deal making at Haitong Securities, allegedly fled the country about 2 weeks ago, has since been arrested and repatriated. This is on top of that big saga with Bao Fan at Renaissance, of course, who is said to be now helping authorities investigate certain malfeasance in the business. Of course, we all know that the authorities, through state media, have lashed out at the financial sector and bankers for leading a hedonistic lifestyle and sort of living, among the financial elite. Again, common prosperity taking a wide swath here in this regulatory crackdown. You mentioned, Yvonne, about handing in passports. This is common for senior bankers at state-owned or state-backed financial companies. They have to hand in their travel documents. Now it seems like it's permeating to lower ranking and traders. I don't want to say traders are lower ranking, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
Essentially, Haitong and other SOE brokerages recently, this according to the sources, were asked to ask their investment bankers to hand in their passports, and also they have to seek permission for all business and travel plans. Some employees have been told that regulators are scrutinizing their IPO deals as well as other capital raising activities. So this is going to be a well-read story today.
I was actually going to ask you the whys. Do we know what they're being detained for?
I would assume it's because this is being investigated by the anti-graft authorities. So there is allegations, I would assume, of malfeasance of some sort with those IPOs or other capital raising by companies. Again, these deal makers are in the crosshairs right now. We already know, and I alluded to it earlier, about the cutting of fees. I mean, I think, what was it, CITIC Securities / basic salaries by up to 15% for some bankers earlier this year. CICC in May cut senior banker compensation and bonuses by more than 40%. So there are multiple crackdowns and investigations, if you will, in this area at a time, let's face it, deal making is way down and profit at brokerages is way down. Haitong, of course, Haitong and Haitong Securities, that was the big story that Min Min was talking about, I believe, last week, looking to have this mega merger to create a financial giant. I don't know how this dovetails necessarily, but again, to give more oversight, perhaps, into perceived malfeasance at these companies. But Haitong, on August 28th, reported a 75% drop in first half profit. So they're suffering because deal making and trading for stocks and everything is down. But now, in addition to some of these investigations, and I was just in Shanghai last week, I talked to bankers, including Amundi, Europe's biggest asset manager. Again, they're not saying, the mood is bad, but you can kind of tell. They're just kind of waiting it out. They're in the long run. That's what everybody's saying. We're in it for the long run. But there are definite stresses right now, and they're feeling it.